everyone, Gardener Degen here. Can you take a guess where I am right now? That's right, I'm at the garden. I'm right here at the Ellis garden. And today we're going to take a tour of your garden. But as we go on our tour, I want us to think about the different structures of our garden and what their functions might be. Have you heard those words before? Structure and function? What do you think structure means? What do you think function means? Let's use our science notebooks as an example. Let's figure out the different structures of our science notebook and what their functions might be. Let's start with our science notebooks. This one's my science notebook. Let's figure out some different structures on our science notebook. What different parts can you find? What do you have on the outside of your notebook? What parts do you have on the inside? What keeps it all together? Those are the different structures, parts that make up a whole. Now let's think about the function of our notebook. What do we use it for? What is something that you can do with your science notebook? I know I always bring a pencil. What else can you use your notebook for? Now let's walk through our garden and think about the different structures that we find and their function. What are some structures that you notice? Let's start with this structure. What are the different parts that make up our sign? What's holding it up? What do you think the function is of our sign? Why is it here? Here's another structure. What do we have on the outside of our garden? What are some structures that make up our fence? What are the different parts? Let's go closer. What's the function of our fence? Why is it here, and how does it help our garden? Let's keep walking. I notice a big structure. What is this structure for? This is called our garden bed. What do you see inside of our garden bed? And what are the different pieces that make up our garden bed? What is keeping it all together? There's parts on the outside of our garden bed, and there's parts on the inside. Let's think about the function of our garden bed. Why are our plants inside of it? Why do you think we don't just plant right on the ground? Let's keep going. I see a few more garden beds, but I'm interested in where I'm walking right now. Am I walking on the garden beds? I make sure to walk in between the garden beds in the path. What makes up the structure of our path? Why do you think there are rocks that make up our path? What is the function of the rocks? And why do we walk in between our garden beds? I see another interesting structure. There are a lot of parts that make up this structure. What are some shapes that you notice? How is this built? This structure is called a trellis. What do you think we use it for? What is the function? Right now, I don't see anything growing on our trellis. but I wonder if that will change throughout the season. Here's another important structure in our garden. What do you think this is? What are the different parts that make up this structure? And what are some shapes that you notice? I see a lid on top. Let's take a look inside. This structure is called a compost. Maybe if we look inside, we'll get a better idea of its function or what we use it for. Take a look inside. What do you notice? What do you think is the purpose of our compost? Why do we have it here? Finally, if we leave the fenced part of our garden, I see one more important structure. This is called a jaw box or a shed. What do you think this is used for? What are some different structures that make up our jaw box? What do you think our jaw box is made out of based on that sound? Let's take a look inside. What are some of the structures that make up the inside? Are there any things that you recognize in here? That was a great tour of our garden. You did an awesome job looking for structures and figuring out their function. Let's look one last time for structure and function, but this time let's focus on just one plant. I've seen this plant before in my house. Have you? This is called garlic, and it's used to help season food. It's a vegetable that you chop up and put in a lot of sauces. Let's look at the different structures on this plant. This is a great time to take out your science journal and make a sketch. Try to label the different parts that you see, and then think about the function. Why are the parts of the plant there? What do you think they might be used for?